All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're putting together a main summary of what is arguably one of the most culturally significant and, without a doubt, highly polarizing personal finance books ever written. We're talking about Rich Dad Poor Dad. Whether you've actually read it front to back or just heard the title thrown around at a dinner party, this book by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter has completely shifted how millions of people think about money. We're going to break down its core message, its crazy rapid rise to fame, and the intense pushback it has received from actual financial experts. 32 million. Take a second to really wrap your head around that number. That is the estimated amount of copies sold globally. It's been translated into over 51 languages across 109 countries. To put that into perspective, there are entire countries with smaller populations than the readership of this one single finance book. It is an absolute juggernaut.
Section 1. A publishing phenomenon. From rejection to bestseller.
The journey of this book is just wild. Back in 1997, Kiyosaki and Lechter actually had to self-publish it because, well, traditional publishers wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It was not some immediate mainstream hit that got plucked from a slush pile by a genius executive. But by the year 2000, it finally got picked up commercially and just exploded into a massive New York Times bestseller. The momentum just kept building, leading to high-profile collaborations, including 2 books co-authored with Donald Trump in 2006 and 2011, and by its 20th anniversary in 2017, it had totally cemented its legacy as a staple of personal finance education. I mean, think about it. Every single traditional publisher initially said no. Even major retailers like Barnes & Noble literally declined to put it on their shelves. So how on earth do you get to 32 million copies from there? Well, Kiyosaki basically bypassed the traditional gatekeepers. He focused all his energy on talk radio and television. And the ultimate golden ticket? An appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show. That massive media boost propelled it right onto the New York Times bestseller list, where, incredibly, it stayed for over 6 years. Section 2. The Tale of Two Dads. The Core Parable. The whole narrative centers around this really striking comparison between 2 father figures, framed as autobiographical parables. First, we have the poor dad. According to Kiyosaki, this represents his own biological father, a guy who worked incredibly hard his entire life but never actually achieved true financial security. Then we have the rich dad, his best friend's father. This figure was an entrepreneur, a savvy investor who accumulated immense wealth. This contrast right here establishes the book's core premise, the problem of relying on hard work alone versus the solution of adopting an entrepreneurial mindset. But for years, this whole setup had everyone asking the exact same question. Who was the real rich dad? Kiyosaki actively dodged questions about his mentor's true identity for a long time. And because the book reads so much like a fable, this evasiveness caused a ton of suspicion. Critics and readers were openly wondering, did this guy even exist? Or is he just a really convenient fictional literary device? Well, the mystery finally got solved. Following his passing, a Hawaiian hotel developer named Richard Kimmy was officially identified as the real-life mentor behind the famous Rich Dad moniker. So it turned out, yeah, there actually was a tangible source for all this entrepreneurial wisdom Kiyosaki was sharing. Section 3, Core Financial Philosophy, What the Rich Teach Their Kids. So what did this mentor actually teach? It basically boils down to what Kiyosaki calls financial intelligence, or your financial IQ. It's the ability to build real wealth through financial education, achieving true independence, and above all, investing in assets rather than just grinding away for a standard paycheck. The book argues that this is the closely guarded secret the rich teach their kids, while everyone else is just taught to go to school and play it safe with a secure job. Specifically, he's telling readers to stop focusing so much on a standard salary. Instead, if you want to build a true wealth engine, you need to generate passive income through things like real estate investing and owning your own businesses. He's essentially arguing that you have to create portfolio income through tangible assets rather than simply trading your precious time for a paycheck. Section 4. Celebrity fans and partners. High-profile backing. And man, did these ideas resonate. The book pulled in an incredibly diverse roster of high-profile fans. You've got Hollywood A-listers using it as a parenting tool. You have major public broadcasters. PBS station KOC actually aired a 55-minute summary of Kiyosaki's concepts and honored him with an Excellence in Education award. Donald Trump co-authored multiple books with him, and fashion moguls Daymond John publicly calls it one of his absolute favorites. Take Will Smith, for example. He actually gave glowing, very personal praise, noting he used the book directly to teach his son, Jaden, all about financial independence. When a message gets embraced as essential family reading by someone with that level of influence, it's pretty easy to see how it reached tens of millions of people. But then, wow, talk about whiplash. You contrast that glowing celebrity endorsement with this absolutely brutal assessment from financial writer John T. Reed. He comes right out and calls it, quote, one of the dumbest financial advice books I have ever read. This brings us to a super fascinating divide. Why did a book so universally beloved by millions get completely eviscerated by traditional financial experts?
Section 5. The harsh criticism. The dialectic pushback.
Reed didn't just casually dislike this book. He thoroughly documented highly critical grievances. He argues it contains a massive amount of flat-out wrong advice, is riddled with factual errors about how real estate actually works, and relies on extremely unlikely, heavily dramatized parables. In his professional view, there is virtually no solid, actionable advice to even be found in its pages. And he definitely wasn't alone. Reviewer Rob Walker over at Slate Magazine completely agreed. He criticized Kiyosaki's methods, calling the claims totally vague. He noted that the fable-like narrative was largely just, quote, self-help boilerplate full of nonsense, relying on predictable self-help tropes rather than offering any realistic financial blueprints. So the main summary of this entire explainer really comes down to this absolutely incredible divide. On one hand, you have this undeniable cultural phenomenon. It sold 32 million copies, empowered celebrities, and sparked a massive desire for financial literacy in millions of everyday people. But on the exact same token, you have intense critical backlash, where experts denounce it for factual errors, vague claims, and frankly dangerous advice. It is the exact same text viewed through two completely different lenses. Which leaves us with a really fascinating question. Does fable-like advice still hold value if it successfully inspires millions to seek out financial literacy? Even if the strict financial mechanics get torn apart by the experts, does the book's undeniable power to motivate people to actually change their mindset make it a success anyway? It is a super compelling question about the true nature of advice and inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this main summary gave you a clear, structured look into the whole rich dad, poor dad phenomenon. Keep learning, and we'll see you next time.